One, two. Oh, that's a lie. But Brian Smith is here as well. Yeah, we do. That was my clever edit. It's the Flyers pregame show with Jason. We're live at the East Food Hall here at Wells Fargo Center. Welcome to the Flyers pregame show. It is Flyers Leafs tonight. And, you know, Toronto's an interesting town. It's a lot like an Eagle town. It rains, it pours. When it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's the worst thing on earth.
Sometimes when it's good, it's still sprinkling outside.
Yeah. Spit on me and tell me it's raining. Flyers Leafs tonight, back here at the Wells Fargo Center. Back home for a game after 2 road games. The Metropolitan Division games that started their Metro schedule in Pittsburgh last Thursday, where they came away with a 3-2 overtime loss. And then probably from a process standpoint there, I'd say, the best game of the year against the Washington Capitals. Yet another squeaker, Brian. And they get a 2-1 win. It's the second 2-1 win of the season for Martin Jones. And he's 3-0. The goaltending's been great. And they got a high-powered offense in Toronto and town tonight.
Well, they've been able to deal with those this year. We've seen that twice now. Washington, you know, that game in Washington, to me, the best part about it was that they finally played a good second period. I think that, for whatever reason, a little bit of a problem. The first period, to be consistent, was really great. That second period, a little tripping hazard for the Flyers. That night was not a problem. You know, they had multiple opportunities, I think, in that game to both pull away and put themselves in a spot where it wasn't going to end well. Obviously, Ovechkin spent 5 of the last 6.5 months on the ice. They were able to keep him today,
including a power play.
Yeah, so it was a good, solid road win for a team that's still very, very dangerous in the Washington Capitals. And we keep seeing this over and over again. These Metro teams, but it's at all costs. Penguins did it last night. 16 minutes left in the third. It's just like, you know, they need everything they can get right now.
It's amazing, too, when you look at the Metropolitan Division and slightly more of a macro look, the Eastern Conference. There are 2 teams of the 16 teams in the Eastern Conference that are below Hockey 500. It's the Ottawa Senators, who are 371, and the Montreal Canadiens, who are 310. Other than that, everybody is over Hockey 500. Yes, the Detroit Red Wings over Hockey 500. Buffalo, and they're at Hockey 500, 552. And in the Metropolitan Division, every team has more wins than they have regulation losses. It is astounding. And every team in the league, including the Flyers, now played 10 games.
And it's not even over Hockey 500. Pittsburgh's at 545. Nobody's got 212 points in that. Go over to the Atlantic, get 2 teams with 7. The Pacific, you got a 10, 9, 8, 3. Just a 9 in the Pacific, I should say. 10, 9, 8, 3. So it's just kind of remarkable, really, what these 8 teams are playing together. And Florida rode through the entire league for 5 weeks. New Jersey goes to 3-2-7.
Yeah, they lost 2 straight.
It's very, very. I think we'll put it that way. It's going to cause some gray hairs if it keeps up. I got to think that at some point, you know, the draft is going to settle a little bit. But for right now, everybody's just going to across the entire league. The Flyers sitting where they're at. I mentioned they just 10 games. They've got games in hand of everybody else in the division. So they have these opportunities here to pick up some of these points and work through. It's going to be a pretty difficult month of November, but so far they've been.
the interesting thing is when you get to now you're 10 games in, it's a decent sample size. It's not an enormous sample size. But you start to look at certain numbers, and you look at some number like goal differential. And 7 of the 8 teams in the Atlantic Division, including the opponent tonight, are negative in goal differential. Toronto is -4. They've scored 33. They've given up 37. You look at the Metro, one team is negative, 2 are at even. The Devils and Penguins are flat. They've scored as many as they've given up this year. But the only team that hasn't outscored what they've given up is the New York Rangers, but they played 13 games, and right now they hold down that second spot.
Yeah, they haven't needed to. A couple of those games, I think, might have been just speaking was against them. They have been, they've been on a bit of a tear since the season started. And I think a lot of folks were maybe a little bit surprised by it. Obviously, Adam Fox has been the real deal there.
Yeah, hey.
It's he's playing like a guy that's sitting pretty. You're going off points percentage. The Rangers are second at 17 points. Their points percentage is fifth best in the history. So it's just a strange situation.
So what's the order of the teams right now? And according to point percentage in the Metropolitan, I know Carolina is the top dog at 10-1.
909. Flyers and Columbus are each 700. They've only played 10 games. Washington is next at 667. The Rangers at 654. They've got the most games played in the division, 13. They're 17 points coming from 7 wins. Overtime decisions. Overtime shootouts, but they're getting points there as well. Washington has had 4 shootout points. So a lot of teams are getting the job done in the extra time as well. We've seen it's the overall things are run. Everybody is doing well in this division. Everybody's got fewer than 27 goals since the Islanders. They're only for 10 games. Everybody else is 30 goals. You don't see that in any of the other divisions. It's really something. And hopefully, the Flyers are going to do points away from some of these big matchups they've got going on there. They've got 2 more games in this stretch. They've got, I think, 10 or 11 games up for 2 of them. We hope starting next week. So we can settle in. They don't want to lose best one.
Yeah, and I mentioned that obviously even out. The opponents like Toronto, they've been kind of a Jekyll and Hyde this year. You know what happened last year in the playoffs again against Montreal this time of all teams to do that and send them packing after they go 3 games to 1. You know the criticism that comes with it from guys like Matthews and Mitch Marner in particular. But they've been a team this year that has either been really good or really bad. We're talking to Tim Saunders and Jim Jackson about this earlier tonight. That there's not much in between with this Toronto team so far. They've won some pretty close games big, and they've also lost some games big. They've lost 4 straight. They've been on to win 5 straight. Now they lost their last one at home to the Kings 5-1. And just I don't know what team's going to show up.
Well, yeah, and I'm not really terribly surprised that really got the way that it was because this team is very top heavy when it comes to salary. They've been known for that for a few years. They are right up against the cap. And when you look down at what they've got in the lineup, they lost Matthews, 11.6. Austin Matthews, 11.6. John Roberts, Mitch Marner, 10.9.
That's $30 million plus.
So, yeah, and then you've got Green Leland at 6.9. Then it goes down to Alex Kerfoot at 3.5. So they are very top heavy in those 4 players, especially. And if those top guys aren't going, then who do you have to lead? That's the question.
And do you have enough depth?
Right, exactly. And you don't have the D is more spread out when it comes to the cap. You have 15 million in their top. There, so it kind of makes a little bit of sense. And then tonight it doesn't look like John Travis. So one of those guys is out of lineup. Again, it's it's an opportunity for other guys to step up. But it's just a matter of what you expect now. I mean, one of those guys that locked in on those rosters, Jason Spence. He's still got some of what made his career so successful. Yeah, I mean, Simmons on there as well. So it's not too surprising to me. Whether or not this overall structure of this team is going to be something that's sustainable, I don't know. But that's just kind of the circle they've figured themselves into. It's just a matter of seeing how it works.
All right, we're going to figure out our sound issue for our stream, but we'll take a break right now on the pregame show. It's Brian Smith, Jason Myrtetus at the Eastern Hall at Wells Fargo. We're back after this on the Flyers Broadcast Network.
I'm doing well, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying the season. It's been great to have the game back. And boy, did you ever think that you would kind of relish a trip to Western Canada and go into Alberta?
Yeah, it was great. We all got to go out for dinner a couple times and walk around outside, and you could pretty much do whatever you wanted to do. There's still a few restrictions up in Canada, but after last year, where we were pretty much airplane to bus to hotel to rink, to bus to airplane to back home. It was nice just to be able to walk around a little bit, do a few more things that we're used to, and spend time with people. But it's also great getting to Edmonton and Calgary before the middle of the winter, although we did have some snow in Calgary. But no, it was a good trip, good results, and it was great to be on the road again.
Yeah, you're still the only team to beat Edmonton. They're off to a piping hot start, and McDavid's been unbelievable. Let me ask you about the mental state, just for you personally, and as you see it kind of with your players and your staff, just being able to have that normalness again, because like you said, you lived through that last year. It was point A to point B, be by yourself, point B to point C, be by yourself, unless you were playing the game. Are you seeing the positive effect that has on everybody's mental state?
Yeah, talking to the guys, everybody seems to be in a good mood. It's, early in the season, obviously, but guys are excited to be back around. We have a lot of new faces, a lot of new people to get to know. Everyone's trying to find where they fit on the team, whether you've been here for as long as Claude Giroux or you're as new as Zach McEwen. Everyone's still trying to find where they fit with all the new faces. But it's been great. There's a lot more energy. You can see it in practices. You can see it on the plane. You can see it by the smiles on their faces. But everyone's in a pretty good place. And, again, it's a long year. There's always going to be adversity. But if we deal with hockey adversity, that's one thing that we're used to. It's all the other stuff that's difficult for everybody, not just hockey players and hockey staff, but everybody in general. So hopefully we can keep that stuff to a minimum and just focus on hockey and all the daily battles you have there.
Such significant amount of change in the offseason, like you just alluded to. And as a general manager and the architect of the team, you have multiple puzzles you have to put together at the same time that have to work. It's the hockey puzzle on the ice and then the personality puzzle off it. And you bring in guys like Cam Atkinson, like his energy is infectious to me. The way he plays the game, the way he conducts himself off the ice, and just that big smile on that smallish body. And then guys like Derek Brassard, who's so much experience and playoff experience. And then Keith Yandle. I know Ryan Ellis talked about Keith Yandle as we're taping this on Tuesday, saying he's awesome on the bench. He saw the clips of him thanking goalies for making saves or leaving pucks behind the net. And then you look at Rasmus Ristolainen brings that physicality and all these different pieces and how they fit, not to mention Ryan Ellis. And they fit, on the ice together, but they also fit off the ice together. And that's really important.
Yeah, exactly. And, you're right about the puzzle. You got the hockey part, which is, the talent assessment and the fit, and also the cap hit, which is taken on such a life of its own in this flat cap era. But, we tried to bring in, players that were experienced, B, players that had some personality and had been leaders on their respective teams in years past. So, I thought we were a little bit young last year. I thought our leadership group was pretty good. We just didn't have enough leaders. And so we tried to, again, bring in guys that have played the game, that have been leaders, that have experience, that have been through the ups and downs. So when adversity does hit, hopefully we handle it better than what we did last year when, basically once COVID hit, we never got back on our feet. And that's on us, not making excuses, but we didn't respond well. And so our thinking was, let's maybe have a more mature group to start the year. And obviously some of the young players in Lehigh Valley, as the season progresses and they grow their game and they grow their confidence and their experience, we can add them at a later date and they can be a big help to our team. But let's at least start with the veteran group and an experienced group and get this ship going in the right direction and then infuse the young guys when they're ready.
Three guys in particular really jump out at me in that regard. Claude Giroux, Sean Couturier, and Ivan Provorov. Now, they're varying ages. Provorov's on the younger end of that spectrum. Giroux has been here for the longest tenured athlete in Philly, and Coots is in the prime of his career as well, but they're all off to amazing starts. Provorov's been on the ice for 1 5-on-5 goal against, and he gets the toughest tasks night in and night out. Giroux's got points in 9 of 10 games. Couturier and the sync in which those two play the game together. Is that part, when you look at the way that they've started the season, almost trying to prove a point that we're not what we were last year, we're way closer to what we were 2 years ago, and get this moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And those were our conversations at the end of last year. Everybody was frustrated. Everybody was upset, at themselves and at everything. And I think these guys have a lot of pride. You look at a guy like Claude Giroux, and he certainly can play a few more years, but clearly he's closer to the end of his career than the beginning. And he understands you only get so many more kicks at it. And Sean Couturier has so much pride. Ivan Provorov. I mean, these guys are, three of our best players. Obviously, they play a ton, a huge role, play a ton of minutes. So they understand that if they're on their game, this team has a good chance of being successful. And I think after last year, they all want to show to everybody that they can still be at the top of their game, but more importantly, this team can be a team that will be a contending team in the East. And I give them a lot of credit. And they're those three in particular, for the returning guys, are very energized, and that's a great sign for us.
Yeah, I haven't fully finished my homework assignment yet to break down any 10-game chunk in Giroux's career. I don't know that he's ever led the team over a 10-game period in shots. It's stunning.
He's got a great shot. And, obviously, he's an elite playmaker, and that's usually his default is to look to pass. But he's certainly cranked a couple pucks early in the year, and it keeps goalies honest. And that balance will really help him down the road. At times he can get predictable because he's a great passer, but it's great to see him shooting, particularly on the power play, giving us something that the other teams have to pre-scout and be aware of, and draws attention to him. And then once he gets the attention on him, then he makes things happen.
We are back at the Wells Fargo Center as the Flyers are getting set to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs, if you can believe that. And it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. We're going to see an old friend here tonight, and that would be one, how about it, Wayne Simmons. We'll talk about the Wayne train coming up. Pregame show live from Wells Fargo Center right here on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
You're listening to the Flyers. Myrtetus and Brian Smith on the Flyers Broadcast Network.
It is the Flyers pregame show on the BetRivers.com on your actual on the stream. That's where you're going to do. We're live at the Wells Fargo Center. It's Brian Smith, Jason Myrtetus, and we're getting ready for Flyers and the Leafs tonight. And We're going to talk about Drew shots in just a moment, and we're going to get to Tim Saunders and Steve Coates for the countdown to face-off and the first period action. But let's talk about Wayne Simmons real quick, because he played in Philadelphia for 8 seasons, 584 games, 203 goals, 175 assists for 378 points. And he was often described as the emotional leader of the Flyers. He's at a different point in his career now, obviously. He's been around a while. He is now 33 years of age, just turned 76 days ago, back in August. But Wayne Simmons coming back is one of those guys that I imagine there's going to be a Wayne Simmons night at some point.
Yeah, at some point, yes. I mean, when you think of his overall career, the kind of player he is, I'm not sure there's a place in this league that he would be more appreciated than Philadelphia.
He was perfect. Right?
He is a great match. You're coming off of a season where, and the one thing I remember, that he and Jake came in at the same time. One thing I remember about the difference between 10-11 and 11-12 wasn't with Wayne Simmons, but it was the fact that it was very strange to see the number 93 in the corners, because the year prior had been with Nikolai Zherdev. Back between the hash marks, that's all you ever saw.
Yeah.
So both of those guys.
He was brought to you by the SPCA. He was a mutt.
Both of those guys were willing to do the dirty things that this fan base loves, but especially Wayne Simmons. I mean, obviously, he brings that physical aspect to the game, where he's throwing the hits, he's dropping the gloves, he's being the complete and total pest to play against, but he's also willing to go into the corners, willing to go to the front of the net on the power play, doing all these things that would definitely endear any player to this market, and they definitely did him. And like you said, the emotional side that he showed on the ice in so many situations was just a perfect fit. And so, I think he's going to be a guy that folks in this market remember for years and years to come, and it's well done.
And he's a guy, as PK Subban, I think, described him at an all-star game, pound for pound, the toughest guy in the NHL. He was a guy you just didn't want to mess with. And Wayne off the ice wasn't that impressive. No. He had the skinniest legs of any NHL player I've ever seen.
And I still don't know how those legs provided what has to be a close to 30-inch vertical. I mean, how many still photos do we have from his career of him just hovering in midair?
Yeah.
When he's in front of the net trying to provide the screen on the power play and just would jump out of the way of the puck. I mean, it just incredible vertical leap ability, especially on hockey skates. I can only imagine what he could do on a basketball court. Just that kind of thing. I mean, that takes work. It's one thing to stand there in front of the net. It's another thing to put forth the kind of effort it takes to do that kind of screen.
I mean, he had a 31-goal season in 2013-14.
Yep.
Or 29-goal season. He had a 32 in 15-16 and a 31 back-to-back. So 63 goals in those 2 years combined, 163 hockey games.
Yeah, and over that stretch forward, for the most part, from when he came in until basically the 18-19 seasons, for the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, first 8 years he was here, he never missed more than 7 games in a season.
That's
Unfortunately,
amazing.
I feel like his body might be starting to just down a little bit on him at this point, but it's understandable given the way he plays the game. But he was incredibly durable. For even back when he was with the Kings, his first 3 seasons, he didn't miss more than 4 games in a year. And then came here and was the same way.
For a guy that wasn't a great skater, he turned into a heck of a hockey player. That was the thing about him when he came in, is he going to be able to skate well enough to play in this league? And power forwards, that's hard for some of those guys when they lose a little bit of a step. They don't have a step to lose. You saw with guys like Lucic or other guys, David Backus, another big-bodied guy. But Wayne was incredibly savvy around the net.
Mm-hmm.
Now, real quick, before we get to Tim and Coatsy for the countdown to face-off, Giroux leading the team in shots. Am I making a bigger deal out of this than needs to be made?
You mentioned this to me earlier tonight. I had not noticed it. And when you said you couldn't think of a time, I said I don't think there ever has been one. He obviously a playmaker, as you heard Chuck say. When you look at his overall season averages, he only averaged more than 3 shots a game a couple of times in his career. The year that he scored the 102-point season actually was not one of them. Wow. He was well under 3 that year at 193 over 82 games. His season high, his career high for shots in one season is 279. That's from 14-15. He's had a couple in the 240s, but right now he's on pace to be somewhere in those ranges, and we haven't seen that from him in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And this year he is firing. I sent him a note and asked him about it. I said, was this a conscious decision? Has it just been what's been provided to you, what you've read in games? And he said, no, it definitely wasn't the plan, but it's what they're giving me.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it.
Yep.
So I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I think there's kind of a lesson in that for not only him, but the entire team. Put it this way, Ovechkin has had over 500 shots in a season. 528 he had in a season. Drew's had 250 in his most.
Incredible.
That's insane. All right, stay tuned. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, they are in the house, and they've got the countdown to face off as the Flyers are set to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs here at the Wells Fargo Center, the first of 3 games in 4 days. Can the Flyers continue to collect points and kick off this month in November in fine fashion? They've gotten 5 of the first 6. We'll see what happens here tonight. Flyers Leafs coming up. Countdown to face off with Tim and Coates right after this on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Now, it's time for Philadelphia Flyers hockey.
It might have been one of their best games of the season Saturday. Flyers checked the Washington Capitals into the ground in D.C. and now have 6 wins, points in 8 of the first 10 games. Tonight, they're back home for 1 against Austin Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's the Flyers and Leafs from Wells Fargo Center, and it's coming up next.
Chuck Fletcher talked about last season, and he said it was unacceptable.
After a summer of change.
Blue Jackets have traded Cam Atkinson Flyers in exchange for
Buffalo Sabres trade Rasmus Ristolainen and the Philadelphia Flyers. Chuck Fletcher said it was a priority to get a top-notch defenseman. Then Chuck made good on his comments.
We've had a long-time interest in Ryan Ellis, and we acquired one of the premier defensemen in the National Hockey League.
The Flyers start a new season with their biggest makeover in a decade.
Philadelphia Flyers are a much improved team now. They have to put it all together on the ice.
That quest starts right now. It's time for Philadelphia Flyers hockey. Here are Tim Saunders and Steve Coates on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Still, without their biggest addition in the offseason, the Flyers have managed to go 4-2-1 without Ryan Ellis. Tonight they're going to meet the Leafs in Toronto's Core 4. A pleasant good evening and welcome to the Flyers hockey action again with Steve Coates. I'm Tim Saunders. Early in the year, we based the Flyers' success on their offensive numbers, but the truth of the matter is the secret to improving this team is at the other end. Flyers played their best defensive game of the year Saturday, and Coates, the way they checked Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals was impressive.
It was a game that they did everything right in the zone. And the defense played well. The forwards came back. They controlled the neutral zone. Goaltenders came up with a great game. Those are the combinations that win a lot of games in the National Hockey League. Remember, your goal was to get up into that 92, 94, 96 range to be able to make the playoffs. This is where you grab your points. This is where you've got your home ice against Toronto Maple Leafs team that's not playing with one of their best players.
All right, so it's not as sexy, I guess, to look at how you stop the opposition. But the Flyers now have
anything like that sexy. Sure it is.
Okay. The Flyers now have at least 2 lines that can match up against the other team's top scorers. And that third line, Coach, while the Flyers haven't gotten a lot of production from that trio, they're not scoring.
Well, they're getting better. How's that? They're getting better. And as much as this team is functioning so well, there are still areas that need to have more production. But this is going to be an interesting game because of the high-octane players that the Toronto Maple Leafs have.
Campbell's the workhorse in goal for Toronto. Carter Hart's going to get the call for the Flyers as he makes his 8th start in a row. Flyers and Leafs are coming up. We'll take the break, come back with the starting lineups. The opening face-off when we return to the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
This has been the Countdown to Face-Off on the Flyers Radio Network.
Be there on November 16th when the Philadelphia Flyers take on Calgary for Hall of Fame night.
Got Holmgren, open that door!
Don't miss your chance to see hockey legends Rick Tocchet and Paul Holmgren get inducted to the Flyers Hall of Fame. All fans in attendance will receive a commemorative Hall of Fame print. Get your tickets now before they're gone. Only at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com.
Brace yourself for an existential question. Has your butt been having enough fun lately? Have you been treating it well? Has it been going places? If not, then it's about time you start using SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the best way to get your butt tickets to live events. Just ask the thousands of other butts who have rated it the #1 ticketing app. So what are you waiting for? Download the app now or visit SeatGeek.com to get tickets to sports, concerts, and live events and make your butt happy. SeatGeek. Get your seat in a seat. Dietz & Watson has been crafting premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years, so they know a thing or two about making mealtime delicious. Whether you're craving smoky, spicy, or sweet, Dietz & Watson has what you need to create the perfect sandwich. Plus, they make plenty of protein-packed snacks. Head to DietzandWatson.com to find a local retailer near you. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing. Premium meats and artisan cheeses since 1939. Andrea Bocelli in concert, presented by Stifel. December 8th, Wells Fargo Center. The world's most romantic voice, Andrea Bocelli. Tickets on sale now at WellsFargoCenterPhilly.com.
What's so proudly we have at the twilight run, the stripes and the